Diversity, when it becomes an ideal, that is, a frame of reference from which to build a culture or society, becomes necessarily monolithic. It becomes the standard to which the sociological context where it is applied must conform absolutely. Diversity, then idealized, is fundamentally ironic in that it implies and produces the exact opposite. For example, in American Harley-Davidson motorcycle culture, Harley-Davidson owners are encouraged to customize their motorcycles to make them uniquely their own. This produces a subculture where a large percentage, if not the majority, of Harley-Davidson owners ride customized, quote-unquote, motorcycles. Indeed, a brief review of the Facebook Marketplace used Harley-Davidson inventory in my area reveals that almost all, or depending on the day, all Harley-Davidson motorcycles for sale have at least one aftermarket component. The effect of this customize your Harley scenario means that, ironically, the most unique Harley-Davidson on the road is the one that is not customized. To ride a stock Harley-Davidson says as much about the rider as an individual, if not even more, than riding a quote-unquote customized one. Customization here, you see, is a form of diversity idealized that ultimately produces conformity. The same ironic effect will be seen to a much more obvious and profound degree when diversity is sociologically and culturally applied to the masses, as in, for example, the nation-state. Once the ruling class demands implicitly or explicitly that the nation become diverse, capital D, the result will be, ironically, that the only truly diverse places will be those where the group is homogeneous. The forced blending of ideologies, cultures, and races will synthesize them into a singular, unidoctrine, uniculture, and biologically one single new race obtained from the former racial plurality. One is left to wonder then what the motivation is for the ruling class to implement capital D diversity as a national identity. Surely they must understand that national identities are collective identities, and collective identity is the antithesis of diversity. Three possible explanations present themselves. 1. Diversity is an ideological weapon used to promote a pretense of benevolence, a pretense of tolerance, whilst obfuscating an underlying desire and intention to marginalize, ostracize, and demonize a particular group of people as being implicitly the, quote, enemy of diversity, unquote, and the root source of its necessity. 2, diversity is a means to promote open-ended and absolute tolerance among the ruled in order to limit and ultimately eliminate their ability to think critically about anything at all. Unfettered and absolute tolerance, you see, makes any value judgments impossible. This then has the effect of making the masses highly susceptible to the suggestion and influence of an authority, like the ruling class, the political leadership. When the masses can't think for themselves, they turn to an authority to think for them. When the masses cannot think for themselves, because they are no longer able to make value judgments, they turn to an authority, like, for example, the ruling class, the political leadership, which, of course, is the most obvious authority in a nation-state. 3, the intention really is benevolent. The intention of diversity really is benevolent, and the ruling class believes truly that the ideal of diversity does, in fact, foster better, more functional, happier, and harmonious societies. However, given the implicit contradiction lurking within the diversity ideal, this cannot possibly happen. Instead, only chaos and conflict will be produced. This chaos and conflict the ruling class will, of course, have to manage, and the only way to do so will be to collectivize and coordinate the masses as a single, unified herd. This will demand a command and control state apparatus, and this is the recipe for totalitarianism, the absolute antithesis of diversity, politically, socially, and culturally speaking. Diversity exists and can only exist naturally. To compel it and promote it as an ideological national identity only serves to contradict it and produces only chaos.